Hello everybody, welcome back to another video, and today we'll be looking at my final predictions for the Virginia races that are happening this November, on Tuesday, November 4th, 2025, which I will be streaming, so make sure to go into my live streams, go to my newest live stream that's scheduled for 4:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, November 4th, 2025, and press notify me so you are going to be there and you will be notified, and like the stream. And with that, let's get into the video. So there are three races, once again, that are going to be happening on Tuesday. The largest one is the governor's race. Republican incumbent Glenn Youngkin is term limited because in 2021 he narrowly won this race by just almost 2%. In 2025, the Republicans have nominated a Republican lieutenant governor who won her lieutenant governor race in 2021 by around 1.5%. So Winsome Earle-Sears is the Republican nominee, the lieutenant governor. She's kind of run a pretty horrible campaign, I'm not going to lie to you guys. And the Democrats have nominated former representative from Virginia's 7th congressional district, I believe. Abigail Spanberger. So, this has never been exactly a close race. You look at the polling, the average is right now Spanberger 9.5. You never had a single poll that showed Winsome Earle-Sears ahead. You've always had Spanberger ahead. And we look at the newest polls. Spanberger plus 11, Spanberger plus 12, Spanberger plus 9. So, all of these polls show Spanberger close or at double-digit victories over Winsome Earle-Sears. And, I mean, you go to here, Spanberger actually has, unlike the other Democratic candidates, she's actually been expanding her lead against Republican candidate Winsome Earle-Sears. For example, Virginia lieutenant governor and the attorney general races, those margins have actually been closing. This one is the opposite. And Abigail Spanberger, I'm pretty sure last time I checked on Polling Market, has a whopping 97% chance to win the governor's election. So, I mean, there's no doubt that Abigail Spanberger is the favorite. Now it's a question by how much. The average on DDHQ for the polling is Spanberger is leading by 9.3%. I think that's around right. I have it going likely Democrat. Likely means between 5 and 14.9%. I have Abigail Spanberger winning at this time by 8.7%. So this is my final prediction for the Virginia governor's race, an 8.7% win for Democrat Abigail Spanberger. So now we're going to move on to the other two races. We're going to go to lieutenant governor now. So obviously in 2021, Winsome Earle-Sears won the lieutenant governor's race by only around 50,000 votes. In 2025, Republicans have nominated radio host John Reed. John Reed has never held a public office before. He would also be the first openly gay lieutenant governor if he is elected. And Ghazala Hashmi is the Democratic nominee. She's a state senator from Southern Virginia. If elected, she would be the first Asian and Muslim lieutenant governor in the state of Virginia. So, obviously, this is a very interesting matchup. John Reed, he did a little stunt a couple weeks back where he kept talking about how Ghazala Hashmi continuously rejected an offer to a debate. So John Reed did a kind of a little stunt where he debated an AI version of Ghazala Hashmi, and that definitely got him some fame. And really, in all of his ads, he mentions Ghazala Hashmi not willing to debate him. So that has definitely helped him. And, I mean, you look here in polling for lieutenant governor, it's much, much closer. And unlike the governor's race, he's been closing the gap. Ghazala Hashmi is only leading against him by 4.4%. I mean, let's look at early September, right? No, early October. How about that? Hashmi was only up by around... Yeah, Hashmi was up back then by around 5%. And, I mean, at some point a couple days ago, Hashmi was only up by 3.6%. So, this one's definitely a tight race. Most of these polls are within a margin of error. Like Ghazala Hashmi only leading by 3, Hashmi only leading by 2. That is within the margin of error. If their polls are... Yeah, there's a chance that these polls are off by so much that John Reed actually won in these polls. And you actually had one poll from Suffolk University, which is a pretty respected pollster in Virginia. John Reed led by 0.2%. So it's definitely still a winnable race for lieutenant governor for the Republicans and John Reed, but I would not count on it. And Ghazala Hashmi is still the favorite. She's up by 4.4% in polling, but I will say this, it's going to be a much closer race than the governor's seat. I'm going to put the lieutenant governor's race into a 3.4% win for Ghazala Hashmi. Now we're going to move on to our final race in the state of Virginia, and that is the Attorney General's race. So the Attorney General's race, you have Republican incumbent Jason Miyares. So Jason Miyares, he is the incumbent, and he can run for another term, unlike the governor and lieutenant governor seats, because attorney general is not term limited. They're not term limited to one term. I think they're term limited to 2 terms, but governor and lieutenant governors are both term limited to 1 term. So he's running for re-election. In 2021, he beat Mark Herring by only 0.81%. Jason Miyares won by roughly 26,500 votes against Mark Herring, the incumbent attorney general. Actually, no, I don't. Yeah, no. Attorney generals aren't limited to 2 terms, so there's that. But anyways, Jason Miyares, he actually won by the least compared to Winsome Earl Sears and Glenn Youngkin in 2021. You see here, in 2021 for governor, Youngkin won by around. Actually, no. Youngkin won by 0.96%. Sears won by over 1%, and it was the closest race in 2021. So Jason Miyares, he won in 2021 by still a pretty respectable margin. I mean, come on. In 2017, Mark Herring beat the Republican challenger by 7%. And in 2025, Jason Miyares was renominated, obviously. And the Democrats, they nominated in a pretty close primary Jay Jones. It was either Jay Jones or Shannon Taylor. Shannon Taylor is Henrico County's Commonwealth Attorney. She was actually leading in polling for the primary. And, I don't think there's any. Yeah, there was one poll. But, she was actually leading in polling, and she was looked as the favorite. But there was a scandal about her taking money from, some company that wasn't respectable among Virginians. But that kind of crashed her campaign, and she ended up losing by only, I believe, 2.22%. You see her 51.11 to 48.89. So a very, very close race in the primary. I streamed that, actually. And, it was a very interesting race. But then Jay Jones, the Democratic nominee, he faced a scandal in the general election in early October. You look here, there was a texting scandal about him wishing death on the former Republican Speaker of the House of Delegates, Todd Gilbert. So that happened October 3rd, and the last poll that showed him winning was from Hart Research, a Democrat-leaning pollster that came out October 6th and 7th. And then every poll since then has showed an either tied race or a Republican winning, except for State Navigate, because State Navigate's a pretty left-leaning pollster. I mean, their data's cool to look at, but their polls are very left-leaning. They overestimated Kamala Harris in Virginia by close to 10% in 2024. So, basically every poll except for the trash pollster State Navigate showed the Republican incumbent Jason Miyares leading. I mean, you look back, all the polls before showed an easy win for Jason Miyares, +6, +4, +6, +6, +3. And then since then, all the way up to the new poll that came out November 2nd from Emerson College. Emerson College showed Jay Jones beating Jason Miyares by 2% with 4% undecideds. This is within the margin of error, but that's not surprising. This is the last poll from Emerson College, and the poll they had before showed I don't think they even polled. I don't think they polled Virginia before, but this was their poll that was released on November 2nd, and was the first poll disregarding State Navigate that showed Jay Jones leading, and also disregard this Democrat-leaning pollster since the message leak. So this is at least a piece of hope for the Jones campaign. I would still not say that Jones is favored, but definitely some hope for Jay Jones. You go here, Attorney General. It has narrowed. You saw in the last couple of days, October 27th, Jones was at 43.2. He surged. On October 28th, he increased 0.8%. October 29th, he increased 0.3%. On October 30th, he increased 0.3%. On October 31st, he increased 0.3%. So it is definitely possible that Jay Jones somehow beats Jason Ramirez. And if that happens, that would be a Democratic trifecta in the Virginia governor races. They win governor, they win lieutenant governor, and they win attorney general. Right now, I do not believe Jay Jones is a favorite, and I still actually have, this polling average shows Jason Ramirez leading against Jay Jones by around 2.5%. I have the polling actually showing Jason Ramirez doing a bit better. I have him winning by 3.2%. That is a lean Republican margin. So these are my final predictions for Virginia. Listen up. So for the governor's level, I have a likely Democratic rating. Abigail Spanberger will beat Winsome Earl-Sears by 8.2%. On the lieutenant governor level, Ghazala Hashmi will beat Republican John Reed by 3.4%. And for attorney general, I have Jason Ramirez being reelected and beating out Jay Jones by 3.2%. So these are my final ratings for the state of Virginia in 2025. Once again, make sure to like and subscribe. Go to my live streams. Press notify me for my 2025 general election mega stream. And I will see you next time, guys. Goodbye.